Disclaimer asterisk this story contains mature themes intended for adult viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. The first thing I noticed wasn't her words. It was her hand, warm, deliberate, slipping over mine as if she'd done it before. The room around us was all gold light and laughter. The sound of glasses clinking, jazz humming somewhere behind polite conversation. But her fingers didn't let go. Her rings brushed against my skin, cold metal against heat, and for a moment, the noise of the party faded like someone had turned down the world's volume. She leaned closer. So close I could smell her perfume, something soft and expensive, and whispered, asterisk, "You shouldn't be here." Asterisk, her voice didn't sound like a warning. It sounded like an invitation she wasn't supposed to make. I remember how her eyes didn't quite meet mine. They hovered, caught between guilt and curiosity. Behind her, her husband, my boss, laughed loudly with a group of investors, completely unaware. She glanced toward him, then back at me, her lips parting just slightly, as if to say something else. But she didn't. Every second stretched too long. Her thumb moved, tracing the back of my hand once before she finally pulled away. The way someone withdraws from a flame they shouldn't have touched. I tried to act normal, to look anywhere else, talk to anyone else, but every reflection in the wine glasses seemed to hold her gaze. Every sound, the clatter of a fork, the low hum of voices, only made the silence between us louder. She passed by again later, close enough that the hem of her dress brushed my leg. A soft laugh escaped her, one that didn't match the conversation she was pretending to have. And when she looked at me again, it wasn't curiosity anymore. It was something heavier, something dangerous. I told myself to leave, to go home, forget the way her hand had felt. But I didn't, because the last thing she said before disappearing into the hallway was quiet. So quiet I almost thought I imagined it. Asterisk, if you stay, don't make me regret it. Asterisk, and that's when I realized, whatever was about to happen tonight, none of it was supposed to. The hallway was quieter than it should have been. Dim light, soft music leaking through the closed doors behind me. I hadn't meant to follow her, not really, but the air felt different here, heavier, like it was waiting for something to happen. I heard the faint click of her heels before I saw her. She was standing near a window, half hidden by the curtain, her reflection caught between glass and shadow. The city lights outside framed her like an outline, every breath visible, every movement too deliberate to be accidental. She turned when she sensed me there. No words, just that small exhale through parted lips. Her eyes dropped for a second, to my collar, my hands, then back up, as if tracing a thought she couldn't say aloud. "I thought you left," she murmured. "I tried. That was all." But in the pause that followed, something unspoken shifted. The distance between us wasn't far, but it felt impossible. Like one more step would undo everything we were pretending to be. She brushed past me to reach for a drink left on the table. The edge of her sleeve grazed my wrist. A small thing, harmless, yet it sent a quiet ache through my chest I couldn't name. "Everyone's looking for you," I said, even though I didn't really care. Her laugh came out softer than I expected. "And you?" "I wasn't." She smiled at that, not fully, just enough to make it harder to breathe. The silence after was full of tiny sounds. The faint clink of her ring against the glass, the hum of air conditioning, the sound of her breath catching when our shoulders nearly touched. I could feel her hesitation, like she was standing on the edge of a thought she shouldn't finish. My own heartbeat filled the space between us, steady, loud, reckless. When she finally spoke again, her voice was barely a whisper. "You really shouldn't be here." I almost believed her, until her hand brushed mine again, this time slower, lingering just long enough to feel intentional. The lights from the party flickered across the hallway floor, spilling between us like a warning. Neither of us moved. Not forward, not back. And in that suspended second, we both knew the next moment would change everything. The light from the party flickered down the hallway, warm and distant. The last reminder of where we were supposed to be. Everything else had gone still. She stood close enough that I could hear her breathing. Uneven, shallow, as if every inhale was a decision. When I turned toward her, She didn't step back. Her eyes searched mine, steady but conflicted, and for a moment neither of us remembered what came next. Her hand brushed against the fabric of my sleeve, like she was testing whether the space between us still existed. Didn't. The faint scent of her perfume wrapped around me. Faint, sweet, impossible to ignore. "I don't know why you followed me," she said quietly. "Maybe you wanted me to." A pause. A sharp breath. Her lips parted, but no words came out. She looked down, as if the floor could give her an answer, then back at me, and everything unspoken hung there, pulsing in the silence. The distance closed without thought. The edge of her hair brushed my cheek. She turned slightly, her shoulder grazing my chest, her hand lingering at my side before pulling back. Not far enough. Every small motion felt deliberate, restrained, as though she was holding herself together by a thread. Her voice came again, lower this time. "This isn't right." "Then why does it feel like it is?" She didn't answer. Instead, she laughed. The kind of quiet, trembling sound that's closer to a sigh than amusement. Her head tilted just enough that our faces were only inches apart. I could feel the heat of her breath on my skin, each second stretching thinner, closer to breaking. Her fingers found the edge of my shirt, tracing a line that made my pulse stumble. Then she stopped, holding still, as if afraid that one more move would set everything on fire. Outside, someone called her name. It sounded distant, unreal. She didn't move. I saw the conflict flicker across her face. Guilt, hunger, confusion. All tangled together in one impossible look. "Go," she whispered. But she didn't step away. And in that suspended space, that breath between what we wanted and what we shouldn't, the world felt seconds away from falling apart. The sound of her name echoed faintly down the corridor. Distant voices, laughter trying to pull her back to the party. But in this small, dim-lit space, time had slowed to a heartbeat. Her eyes lifted to mine, wide, uncertain, shining with something that felt like both fear and want. The soft glow from the window traced the edge of her face. Every breath she took seemed to draw me closer without a word being spoken. "You should go," she whispered again, but her voice trembled. Her hand was still near mine, the space between our fingers too narrow to stay empty for long. "I will," I said quietly. "Just not yet." That was the moment the air seemed to shift. The hum of the city below faded. The noise of the party was gone. It was only the sound of breathing, hers, mine, tangled in the silence. She took a small step back, but her eyes didn't leave me. Her fingers brushed the side of her neck, a nervous habit maybe, though it looked more like surrender. I felt the pull, not toward her words, but toward the silence she left between them. The tension pressed closer, invisible but heavy. Every inch of space felt charged, like static before lightning. My pulse was loud in my ears. She noticed it, or maybe she just felt the same thing because her next breath caught, soft and uneven. The curtain moved slightly from the wind, brushing against her arm, and for a moment it looked like the whole room was holding its breath with us. She reached up as if to say something, but her hand froze mid-air, trembling. "Someone will see us," she murmured, her eyes darting to the door. "Then why aren't you leaving?" That broke something in her expression, the part still pretending this didn't matter. Her gaze softened, like she'd finally stopped fighting it. The footsteps from the other room grew louder, closer. She turned toward the sound, then back at me, torn between two worlds that couldn't exist together. The door handle moved, light spilled in, and in that half-second before anyone could see, we both stopped breathing. The door swung open, too fast, too bright. Her husband's voice echoed from the other side of the hall, laughing with someone, footsteps coming closer. For one terrifying second, the world froze. I stepped back instinctively, but there was nowhere to go. The corridor was narrow, the window behind us sealed shut. She moved first. "Here," she whispered, grabbing my wrist and pulling me behind the curtain. The heavy fabric fell between us and the door, and suddenly we were pressed close, hidden in the narrow slice of shadow. The sound of footsteps stopped. The doorknob rattled again. Her husband's voice came through, muffled but clear. Unha? You in here? Her fingers tightened on mine. I could feel the tremor running through her. She didn't answer. Seconds dragged. He muttered something about looking for his jacket and turned away. The door shut again, but neither of us moved. We stayed in that narrow space, barely breathing, hearts beating too loud to be safe. When she finally exhaled, it came out shaky, half a laugh, half a sob. That was close, she whispered. Too close, I said, though my voice didn't sound like my own. For the first time, she looked straight at me. Not the cautious glances from before, not the quick looks stolen between conversations. This one was raw, panicked, alive. Her hand was still on my wrist, and she seemed to realize it only when she looked down. She didn't pull away. I don't know what's happening to me, she said quietly. I haven't felt like this in years. Her confession hung there, dangerous and honest. I didn't answer, didn't trust what might come out if I did. Then, from somewhere in the house, a phone began to ring. Not hers, mine. The sound sliced through the air like a siren. I fumbled to silence it, but she caught my arm again, pressing my hand down. Her breath was right against my ear when she whispered, "Don't move." We both listened as the ringing echoed once, twice, 3 times, and stopped. But when it ended, something else began. A soft buzz. A message. I glanced down. The screen lit up with a single line that froze the blood in my veins. I saw you. I looked up, but she'd already seen it. Her eyes widened, searching my face for answers I didn't have. Who? She whispered. Before I could speak, another vibration. This time on her phone. She pulled it from her clutch with shaking hands. One unread message. The same words. I saw you. The sound of the party outside suddenly felt miles away. The air between us thickened again. No longer just desire, but fear. Whoever had seen us knew. And they were close. Somewhere down the hall, a shadow passed the frosted glass, slow and deliberate. Neither of us moved. We were no longer hiding from guilt. We were hiding from whoever had just found out. The shadow outside the frosted glass stopped moving. Then came the knock, slow, deliberate, almost polite. Neither of us answered. The silence that followed was worse than noise. Her pulse was visible at her throat, her breath quick, shallow. I could hear my own heartbeat answering hers. Another knock, louder this time, then a voice. Calm. Too calm. Unha, are you in there? Her husband. She closed her eyes for a second, steadying herself. Then she stepped away from me, smoothing her dress with trembling hands, the practiced calm of someone who'd lived behind a mask for too long. Stay here, she whispered. But before she could touch the doorknob, I stopped her. He already knows. The look she gave me, fear, regret, something close to love, was almost unbearable. Then this ends here, she said. The door opened. Light spilled in. He stood there, smiling in a way that wasn't a smile. In his hand, her phone glowed, the same message still on the screen. I saw you, he read aloud, his voice even. That was me. The air shattered. She froze. Couldn't move. For a long second, none of us spoke. Then he tossed the phone onto the table with a thud. I wanted to see how far you'd go, he said. Now I know. The words hit harder than shouting ever could. Unha's voice broke when she finally spoke. You don't understand? I understand perfectly, he cut in. You wanted to be seen. Both of you did. He turned and left without another word, the door slamming like an ending. She sank against the wall, tears she didn't wipe away glinting under the dim light. I thought I was invisible, she whispered. He just proved I wasn't. I took a step toward her, but she stopped me with a small shake of her head. Go, before I make this worse. I left. Downstairs, the party had ended. The music was gone. Only her laughter echoed faintly from earlier, distant, hollow, like it belonged to someone else. When I reached the street, my phone buzzed once more. One new message from her. Don't look for me. And then, seconds later, a second message followed. One she hadn't meant to send. A photo. Her art studio, lights still on, and a single word written on the canvas. Stay. The city looked different that night. Quieter, like it was still holding the secret we'd tried to bury. I walked past her studio 3 times before I finally stopped. The lights were still on, just like in the photo she'd sent. Inside, the room smelled faintly of paint and rain. Canvases leaned against the walls, unfinished, scattered. Chaos that somehow felt beautiful. And in the center, one stood alone. The canvas from the photo. She was there, sitting in front of it, brush in hand, staring at something only she could see. When she heard the door close, she didn't turn around. "I told you not to come," she said softly. "I know," I said, "but you also told me to stay." That made her pause. Slowly, she set the brush down and faced me. Her expression wasn't anger anymore. It was quiet, tired, honest. The kind of look people have when they've stopped pretending. "For a moment," she said, "I thought what we had could exist somewhere outside of that house, outside of everything. And now I know it can't." She smiled faintly, almost sad. "But I don't regret that it happened." We stood there for a long time, not touching, not speaking, just letting the silence settle like dust between us. The air still hummed with something unsaid, something neither of us dared to name. Finally, she picked up the brush again and looked at me. "If I paint this moment, I'll have to finish it alone." I nodded. "Then make it beautiful." I turned to leave, but before I reached the door, her voice stopped me. "You made me remember what it felt like to be alive," she said. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. Some things are stronger when left unfinished. Outside, the rain had started again. Soft, steady, cleansing. The streetlights blurred through the drops, glowing like everything was being rewritten. And as I walked away, I realized that maybe this wasn't an ending at all. Maybe it was just the moment before a new story began. The kind that stays with you long after the last word fades.